Well, thank everyone for showing up. And my name is Kevin Gray with Envision Solutions. We're a managed service provider in Albuquerque and also the Denver area. And we have on here with Jake for Lakeside Insurance. And I met Jake through an association event. And we started chatting about our kind of intertwined of our both businesses, him on the cyber risk management and us on the cybersecurity, and how we protect our clients on both realms from the technology side and also the insurance side. So we thought it would be a great opportunity to kind of walk through some of the cybersecurity and risk management that both our companies provide and kind of answer any questions that might come up. So Jake, you want to introduce yourself and kind of give us a little bit about Lakeside?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the intro, Kevin, and appreciate everybody for joining on today. I know we're in the midst of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, so this comes at kind of a perfect time for us to have this conversation. So yeah, Lakeside Insurance is a privately owned independent insurance agency. We're located in Arvada, Colorado. We help clients all over the Colorado area, as well as we write in 43 different states across the U.S. I specifically specialize in cyber insurance, and that's kind of like Kevin said, how we got to know each other, and how we kind of really came about becoming really a good relationship, and how we can kind of help out our partner clients. So with that, we're going to kind of jump into it. And today's webinar is more of kind of a panel where Kevin and I are kind of be answering a lot of questions, diving into some different information, and really just kind of generally speaking about these topics. Again, any questions you might have based on the information that we're discussing, please feel free to reach out, put something in the chat, and then we'll kind of go from there. So I'll get us over to the next slide here, Kevin, and
Great.
then we'll go. So I'm going to kind of start by asking Kevin some questions, and he's going to obviously, like we said, be discussing from kind of the cybersecurity standpoint, and then I'm going to be sharing from that risk standpoint as well. So all these questions are intertwined, both sides of the house, Kevin's and mine, and that's why, again, having a trusted IT partner, having a trusted insurance agent is really important with just all the ever-changing landscapes of cybersecurity, cyber insurance, and risk in general. So with that, we'll kind of get that first question started, Kevin. So what steps do you recommend to a firm just starting out with cybersecurity? Somebody maybe that's just starting to learn or open to change, and understanding that they need to get in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, so I mean the cybersecurity landscape is very, very broad, and you can go from very, very basic to very, very high level, depending on your business, really. And there's some businesses that are just starting out with this, and they need the basics. The basics are very, antivirus solution, a data backup solution, and your basic firewall. Those types of solutions are great to implement, but really having that trusted partner, someone that can come in like a managed service provider, an IT services manager that can come in and kind of really assess your business. Because if your business takes, say, credit card payments, if your business has an in-house payroll, if you do a lot of processing of what we would call PII information, then you need to step up that security to comply with some of those standards. And your basic antivirus is not gonna be the solution that will check the boxes for compliance in those areas. But on the very basic level, having a really good centrally managed antivirus solution, a firewall, and really a data backup solution, just in case something should happen, is kind of a basic for a firm starting out. When you get into a higher level, if your business is doing government contracts or state contracts or any of that type of business, then you definitely have to up your game. And there are a lot of other solutions that have to be put in place to really check the boxes of compliance.
Absolutely. No, that's a really good point, and I'm glad that you bring that up. And that'll kind of bring us into the next question on how can organizations assess their cyber risks effectively. And so to answer 1 and 2 from my side of the house, when you're just starting out, we just have general conversations. Who's your IT person? Is it somebody in-house? Is it a third-party IT company? Or is it nobody? And what are you currently doing for cybersecurity? Are you doing any employee trainings? Do you have phishing simulations going on to make sure that your employees are all on task? Have you created cyber incident and disaster recovery plans? So really, it's that general risk conversation that we're always having with our clients that's extremely important. And that kind of jumps into the next question too that I'll ask for you, Kevin. So what are the differences between proactive and reactive cybersecurity risk management strategies when you're really talking to a firm and saying, okay, we want to get you to there?
Right. Yeah. So I mean, the proactive is definitely the one that you want to shoot for. With all of our clients, we are a proactive managed service provider. We put tools in place and solutions in place so that we can monitor activity and be alerted on potential threats or issues that might come up, so that we can reach out to our clients and be proactive and say, hey, these solution or this solution alerted us on a known file on this computer that, if run, could be very detrimental to your business, whether it's ransomware or some other type of threat. Within a lot of the solutions that we deploy, the proactive nature of that is, if it does find something, it will actually lock the machine down and cut it off from the network. So that's kind of the proactive. Being reactive in cybersecurity, I mean, you've kind of already lost, right? I mean, the game's over because they've already ran their ransomware. They've already, hacked your Office 365 account. They've already done what, they wanted to get done. So the reactive nature of cybersecurity, I kind of think it's a misnomer or a bad word in cybersecurity, because you really want to be as proactive as you can. And that gets into not only the solutions, but being proactive of training your employees, training them on what a phishing email looks like, training them on processes of, if we have a payroll change that you need to switch banks, then, here's a form that you fill out. Don't email someone with that information, so to minimize that risk of getting attacked or getting compromised is not just technology, but it's also process and training and educating the entire employee staff on what's going on within my business, so that you can be as proactive as possible.
No, I completely agree. And I think you bring up a lot of great points that if you are reactive, you're already in trouble. So
Right.
we're always telling our clients, you need to raise your hand. You need to make sure that you're bringing light to things that may be on your computer that you're not sure what they are, so that we can help assess the situation before it gets too late. And kind of what you talked about with phishing examples, and what I was discussing about with having different solutions to running phishing email campaigns, we as cyber insurance specialists provide that as a part of your cyber insurance policy. And if it's not included, you can always go back to Envision IT and say, okay, Kevin, can we get this included? And can we start doing this for our employees? And on this next 2 slides here, you're going to kind of see these are just some examples of what it looks like. And Kevin, I'll let you kind of walk us through this,
Yeah.
because I see this often as well, and we're constantly bringing it up. But from your side of the house, what do you recommend, whether it's a different type of kind of device that you have on your email where you can click it and report phishing through Iron Skills or things like that? What are you recommending for clients, and what's been helpful for not just your firm, but all of your partner clients that you're constantly doing business with?
Yeah, so this is a great example. I mean, I get these and I kind of save them, just for these types of educational things. But this is an email I got that has a file attached. But it basically is saying, a payment of $14,000 was issued to you by a check. Here's the details. And if you click on that HTML, that file attached, it's going to ask, or it's going to try to download something to my machine. So really, this is a great phishing example because, Department of Finance of EITS. I mean, we just don't do business this way, So, I mean, the knowledge of, hey, this is, something that is not normally happening. I never get a check issued to me for this amount, so just and we don't have a finance department at EITSNM, so I mean, the educational side of these types of scams and kind of phishing is the first part, right? I mean, you got to know kind of how you guys do business and training your employees on this type of stuff. But we do use, you mentioned one service. We also we have a couple of services that we deploy to our clients. One being know before is one that, you mentioned the button. It has a button that you can report a phishing email. That's an educational platform that kind of can send out phishing type, tests and kind of training. So that's one way that we do it. Another one is, just forwarding these types of things. If you're not sure, we tell our clients all the time, if you get something and you're just not sure, is it real? Forward it to the help desk, forward it to your IT provider, ask the question. Don't click on links or respond to them, you know, and then tell someone, always raise your hand, like you said, Jake, and say, this looks fishy, right? So, this is a good example. And I think we have a couple more too, but, just the educational side of how you run your business. And if something is out of the norm, then ask, verify.
Absolutely.
Don't just assume.
Absolutely. And from our side too, when you're looking at emails, unless you're best friends with Kevin, you're probably not emailing him saying, "Hey, Kay Gray, can you send me
Right.
your email?" Unless it's a buddy that you've been hanging out with for a long time. And also, when things like this happen, and it might be from one of your vendors because their email could have been compromised, we always tell our partner clients, pick up the phone, make sure it's actually them. Because even though it might be phishing, just like this email, and we'll flip to the next one too, what people may not realize is that your clients can also have their emails compromised, and then a claim could come in through their computer and their emails, and it might actually be them. But until you pick up that phone and realize, hey, Kevin, did you really need that additional $3,500? We just sent you our other invoice the other week, and you said, well, I don't know what you're talking about. Then we're bringing light to the situation.
Correct. Yeah, we've got so many examples of, and someone that, examples of people that did get phished and they, sent and wired, I mean, $14,000 worth of money to who they thought was a vendor. And the vendor got hacked, and the vendor was in their mailbox, or the hacker was in their mailbox and actually downloaded a real invoice from their mailbox, changed the routing numbers of everything on it, and then emailed the client with a real invoice that looked real, and everything was, nothing really looked out of the norm as far as the invoice format or anything else, but it was going to the wrong routing number. And if they would have, and it was a kind of out of cycle invoice. So like your point, if you pick up the phone and you actually ask the question, hey, I got this, kind of out of cycle invoice, I'm not really sure what it's for, then you can verify instead of just assuming.
Right, right. No, absolutely. So when we're looking from cybersecurity and kind of what we've been discussing, what is the relationship between cybersecurity, risk management, and disaster recovery planning from your side of the house, Kevin? And I'll kind of touch on it quickly from my side. Like I said, raise your hand, create a cyber incident response plan, and know what to do in a situation where there might be something fishy, whether it's reporting it to your IT company and reporting it to your cyber insurance company, letting people know what's going on rather than waiting and waiting and waiting. Because the longer that somebody lives within your computer system, the worse the situation is going to get. They can grab and take and send anything that they really want to once they have the keys to your system. So I guess from that, Kevin, what's kind of your perspective on this one?
Yeah, I mean, really, I mean, like you said, I mean, it's creating that plan. Insurance is always there, and the disaster recovery plan is there for, something that you never hope you need to use. Like it's fire insurance. You hope your house never catches on fire, but here's the plan if it does happen. So
Right.
that is great. And disaster recovery is a big part of that because it is a disaster. I mean, if your entire computer system gets ransomware, how are you going to run your business? Are you able to run payroll? Are you able to pay your clients? Are you able to accept payments from clients if your systems are down? Do you have a disaster recovery for your servers? Are you able to get those up and live and running on a different solution or a different platform than your current server that's been infected? So having that plan and running through that and talking about that and the what if scenarios is something that is going to save you so much time and so much money, because you can kind of break the glass, so to say, and say, okay, here's our plan. We're gonna boot up our servers on this other device. We're going to be able to run. Here's a couple of laptops, or we know our users have laptops so they can come in and kind of not use their current desktop, and so on and so. And there's so many different scenarios, but having that plan and talking that through with your IT provider is a key to making sure that you're not dead in the water for weeks trying to recover.
No, absolutely. And you bring up a great point that you need to have a disaster recovery plan in place. You need to be proactive. And then the cyber insurance piece is that last line of defense. Because if you are down for 2, 3 weeks, where are you going to be able to generate the revenue from? Well, that's why you have the cyber insurance policy, and it's going to cover business income. Not only is it going to cover the revenue that you lost during that time, but it's going to continue to pay that payroll for you, like you said, Kevin, and helping find vendors that might need to fill a job for you so that you don't lose your client for the future. Because if you're an engineer and now your project is all ransomware and encrypted, how are you going to be able to do that project that's due in 8 to 12 weeks when you have a very tight timeline? They'll actually help find different resources to kind of get you into that happy place so that you can continue on with that client. So you're not just losing revenue right now, because you might be doing 10 to 15 more projects with that company throughout the next 10 to 20 years. So it's really just important to understand cybersecurity is one of the main factors in keeping your revenue stream alive at this point in today's
Yeah,
kind of digital landscape.
correct.
Um, and so, what emerging cybersecurity threats should companies be aware of, and how can they prepare for them? And I know we've talked about phishing, and phishing is getting a lot more creative with artificial intelligence. So, if you kind of want to touch on anything else you're seeing within that space, Kevin, I know that the phishing through kind of AI has just gotten very, very intense. And not only that, but now they can record your phone or your voice, excuse me, off of a quick video that you have and then pretend to make calls out to your clients. So we're seeing a lot of different things happening right now. And it just,
Yeah.
again, we need to be aware. That's why we have these conversations and we're kind of helping our clients. So what are you seeing right now, Kevin?
Yeah, so we are seeing, I mean, 2, 3 years ago with the phishing emails, it was a little bit easier to kind of spot them because the way they worded their sentences was broken English, or that type of stuff. But now with AI and these, they're able to, you- go to Chat GBT or whatever AI solution and create very, very, great emails that look very realistic and sound very realistic. So that is definitely one that we're seeing a lot of. Another one that we're seeing on the phishing side is also kind of payroll type diversions, where they will email, because everybody has on their website, the list of staff and list of leaders and the CFO or the accounting manager or any of these people. So it's very easy for them to kind of social engineer an email and say and create a Gmail account, but the email address is coming from your domain, and kind of spoof that, where they're emailing the accountant or the CFO and saying, "Hey, I need a payroll change to a different bank." Um, and some people have fallen for that and they've lost revenue. That's a big phishing one, and that's where I think the process internally of having a very well defined process on how you guys manage that internally with your employees is very key. The other one is, I mean, ransomware is becoming very, very still prominent, but it is coming to a phase where we have seen the ransomware is coming in, and I mean, they're being compromised and they're living on their systems for months sometimes, gathering information, gathering data, gathering all the data offsite. So having solutions in place where you can see that activity and being proactive of, hey, there's a foothold here that's not normal, there's a malicious file, there's solutions out there that protect and alert on that. That is something that will save you thousands and thousands of dollars to have those types of solutions in place. And the problem with cybersecurity and these emerging threats is, I always feel like on the IT and security side, we're kind of always chasing our tail because they're ahead of us, right? They're coming up with new things and we've got to try to combat it, always. We're not, there's never going to be a silver bullet, so to say, for, stopping 100% of cyber threats. So, having a layered approach and having a disaster recovery plan if it should happen, having solutions in place to alert you and being proactive, and then with nothing else fails with a disaster recovery plan, the cyber insurance piece of having your risk management kind of falling back on that if and when something does happen. So the emerging threats is growing every day. How they're doing this, how they're social engineering you, how they're really, hunting for, um, threats and hunting for victims is always changing. So it's kind of hard to answer that question completely. But there are solutions and ways that you can minimize your risk and help with keeping your business safe.
Absolutely. No. And like you said, and like we've been discussing throughout the entire webinar, is we need to bring light to these things. We need to have these conversations because like you pointed out earlier, most of these claims and people living in your systems, they're watching what's going on. They're seeing what the owners do. They're seeing how different people operate and waiting for those owners to go on vacation so that they can strike in situations in which a team might not know what to do. So we just need to continue to have these conversations and be proactive rather than reactive. So now we're going to kind of touch on a little bit more of the cyber insurance piece, why Kevin and I work together so well to help our clients, and why it's just so important to have a relationship between your IT vendor and your insurance professional, because without them working together, you're just working against one another almost. And it's a partnership, really, at the end of the day, for small to mid-sized businesses, because we're not Fortune 500 companies. We don't have a chief technology officer on staff. We don't always have a risk management officer. And we're wearing so many different hats on a daily basis that we need to rely on our partners for situations like this. So
Yep.
I get questions like this all the time. How does the size and type of business impact the choice of cyber insurance coverage? Well, kind of like what Kevin was touching on earlier. Who are your clients? What work are you doing? Are you doing work with a lot of small to mid-sized companies? Are you doing work with federal and government entities? Do you need to have different sort of NIST or CMMC compliance because of those federal entities? And do you have any contracts in place that are requiring maybe not your typical $1 million or $2 million limit, but they're saying, hey, Jake, we need to carry $5 million in limits to protect ourselves. So for situations like that, I'm always having open conversations because it can really go one way or the other, depending on who you are. And again, how risk adverse are you? What makes the most sense for you and your firm? I can't determine that. I can just help and be a guider to give you that kind of good consultation effort to say, hey, let's look at this from a different lens and see what really is your biggest risk and what are your pain points? What do you fear? What keeps you up at night and makes you worried for your company? And so what are some common exclusions or limitations in cyber insurance policies? So touching on that social engineering piece that Kevin brought up earlier, there are a lot of social engineering claims. And you might say, what is social engineering? Well, you get tricked into doing something, whether that's sending an invoice or, excuse me, paying an invoice to the wrong person or sending fraudulent transfers of funds to somebody that spoofed you. And a common exclusion and really tiny wording that I'm seeing all the time that not many professionals in my industry realize is reimbursement wording versus pay on behalf. Three little words, pay on behalf. The reason why this wording is so important is because if you have a ransomware claim, does anyone know where to go get Bitcoin? Do you know how to send money out of a cryptocurrency wallet? And do you know how to get the keys back to your servers? So having a cyber insurance company that's going to do all of that for you and pay that on your behalf is so crucial. Where some policies I read have reimbursement wording, meaning, hey, Jake, you guys got ransomware. You can do all those steps that I just discussed, and we'll just pay you back afterwards. When you really just want that helping hand, because that's why I'm paying for the policy. I need help in these situations because I don't know what to do. And even again, the IT professional sometimes can't always step in. And Kevin, why don't you kind of touch on that from a ransomware perspective of what that really looks like and what happens in a claim situation if everything's encrypted and if your client didn't listen to you saying, hey, I think you should be doing backups every day, every few hours. And they said, no, we're fine working on our old server model and we just are going to keep it the same exact way.
Well, my heart just went, up. My blood pressure just went up because, that's just a horrible nightmare situation for any IT service provider is, the ransomware and your backups aren't working, right? So, I mean, having a partner like that has the cyber insurance background and the knowledge of what you talked about to take over that function relieves so many different aspects from the IT side because we're 100% worried about trying to get you back up and running. We're rebuilding servers. We're restoring data if it's there. We're trying to mitigate any kind of additional cybersecurity threat. So I mean, we're worried about your business and doing that and having the cyber insurance partner and having that type of policy where the pay on behalf like you like the wording and having that function going over to that side and not putting that stress on us is a great godsend, right? I mean, it's something that we just don't have to worry about, and the client doesn't have to worry about. The client can worry about talking to their clients and reporting all the things that they need to certain, important law enforcement and all the other regulations that come with ransomware. So for us to have a partner on the insurance side that's going to take that load off of us is such a key aspect because all we're worried about is trying to get you back up and running.
Absolutely. And everything that you're doing for your clients on a daily basis, Kevin, is so important. But you're not the client. You're not the endpoint user. You're not the one sitting there doing work, extremely busy, and not always having the time to check every email, making sure that the invoice is going to the right person. So Kevin and his team do a phenomenal job putting all of these cybersecurity measures in place. But again, if you're not doing trainings, if you're not bringing light to your company saying, make sure when you're doing certain things, that's unfortunately something that Kevin, his team, and my team, we can't work against. We'll give you all the tools. We'll provide you with anything. We'll set up conversations, employee trainings, phishing simulations, disaster and incident response plans. But if your team doesn't value cybersecurity at the end of the day and isn't taking the precautions that we've discussed, it's really vulnerable for you and your firm. And that's why changing the scope and what I'm talking about now with clients is maybe in your annual review, you have conversations with your employees about their cybersecurity standpoint. What are they doing? Hey, Jake, you got a 10 out of 10 on 3 of our quarterly trainings, but on this one training, you got a 5 out of 10. What do we need to do to get you to that point rather than getting upset with Jake and saying, why did you do this? It's let's look at it from a different lens and how can we help you get into that right point and that right perspective?
Yeah, and I mean, just an example of this. I mean, the whole company buy-in from the top leadership all the way through the company is the number one key to cybersecurity. Um, I just literally this morning was on a call with a client that's going through a CMMC, compliance, very high level, compliance with 110 rules that they have to follow and all these things. And one of the questions of the client was, well, how do I ensure that all my staff is doing this? And it's like, Well, the owner of the company needs to basically buy in and basically tell everybody that this is a necessity. And if these things aren't followed and procedures, yes, there's mistakes here and there. But if you're not following the culture, and that's really what it is, it's got to be a cybersecurity culture within your company that you're doing things that are in policies and procedures, you're doing the training, you're doing everything that we're asking, then I mean it could be a fireable offense. I mean it's your business at the end of the day, and the ownership has got to buy in from the top down, or it's just not going to work. We have some clients that the owners were like, well, I don't want to change my password every 6 months. I just want the same password. I don't want to have to hassle with it. Well, how can you tell your administrative assistant that she has to if you don't? Right. So, I mean, it's got to be a culture that everybody buys into, or you're going to be a victim.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you bring up that word culture too, because not everybody thinks of cybersecurity as a cultural aspect, but it is in today's world. We all work so differently than we did 5 to 10 years ago. Whether you're at Starbucks, you're at home, you're on an airplane, you're at the airport, you're traveling and working, and we're constantly doing things differently. And you're right, everyone does need to buy into that. And it is interesting when the owners may not, or vice versa, the employees don't want to buy in. It's, well, is this really a fit? Because cybersecurity is the helm of the business now. Yes, you might have large properties and you might have a lot of auto vehicles and fleets and things of that nature, but everything lives on our computers now. And without your computer, I don't know how we can all kind of operate on a daily basis. So,
Yep.
and then kind of lastly, to kind of wrap it up, how does the claims process work when a company experiences a cyber incident? So this is obviously a really, really important question because everyone's so scared of cyber insurance saying, well, Jake, it's not going to cover me. I've seen all these things in the news. And well, you have seen things in the news that cyber insurance companies aren't willing to cover certain situations. And probably the largest one happened last year with an Illinois manufacturer, and Travelers Insurance denied the claim. The reason that companies can deny a claim is when you misrepresent on your application. That application is a part of the policy. That's all that the underwriter has to go against and to truly understand who you and your firm are. So for that Illinois firm that got denied the claim, they checked yes to all multi-factor authentication. For the claims process, a forensic team comes in, they analyze what happened, they figure out how to mitigate it from happening again and get you into a much better place. But when that team came into that manufacturing firm, they realized there was no multi-factor authentication anywhere. They had completely misrepresented on the application. They had lied to the insurance company, and the insurance company was covering them for a risk that they thought was protected in a completely different way than it actually was. So being honest, having a partner like Kevin to help with technical portions, and there might be certain things that you do have to answer no to, and that's okay. It's okay to say no, but then again, let's have that conversation of what do I need to do to be able to answer this question yes, or do we want to keep it as no because of how we do our risk management procedures, depending on how you and your firm operate. So again, it's not a cookie cutter solution. You don't have to fit inside of a little box perfectly answering everything yes. It is risk, it is cybersecurity, and we all just have to work together in this kind of digital landscape to really mitigate these issues from happening and just protect you, your firm, and your employees at the end of the day.
Yep. Yeah, I mean it is, and that's one thing that we do with all of our new clients that we get, and periodically do with our current clients, is that assessment of especially towards the middle of the year or the beginning of every year, all our clients send us the forms from cyber insurance. Can you help us fill this out? And we go through those forms with them and say, well, yes, you do have MFA. Yes, you don't have MFA. We need to turn this on. And it actually gives us, and we kind of, not like it, but it gives us an opportunity to, tighten the ship, so to say, of our clients, because those forms are, the cyber insurance things are kind of not mandating, but recommending, here's some things that are going to help you mitigate the risk. And that's why those forms are distributed and needed. And that assessment of, here here are the guidelines from the insurance company of best practices, so to say, so that the claim will be fulfilled. You won't get denied because we are being truthful on those forms and saying, yes, we do have a, EDR solution for antivirus. We do have a business backup solution. We do have a multi-factor authentication, so those forms are a pain in the butt. And sorry, Jake, but I don't always like filling them out. Some of them are very long, but it is needed for an awareness to the client of here's a bunch of things that are best practices, and this is how your claims are going to not be denied because you can say yes to those things.
Absolutely. No, and you bring up great points. And again, everything is ever changing. And unfortunately, without working together on these things, we're just going to generate more problems for ourselves, for our businesses, and for our clients as well, because of all the information you have on your clients. So, here's both Kevin and I's information. We will be sharing a recording of the webinar. We'll be posting it on our website, on our LinkedIn if you do want to go back. If you have any questions or just want to have a conversation, feel free to reach out to Kevin or I via email, via phone. We're always available. As you can tell, we're always on our computers too, making sure that everything is up and running and that our clients are always protected. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We do really appreciate everybody joining us for this session. We'll kind of be doing more and more as we head into 2024 and really just kind of unwinding and understanding what is the risk, what's going on, and how do we help each other. So for this year's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, thanks again for joining us, and hope you guys have a fantastic rest of the week, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Jake. I appreciate it. And yep, you guys have a great day, and we'll talk soon.